tuning in as usual. And Chess is going to take over this morning, and I have every faith that she'll be just fine.
And that she won't go
No
over
pressure.
and she'll ask the right questions, right?
She will. Well, you kind of know the guest pretty well, so you'll know the right things to ask. Thanks, Chas.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Lisa, for asking me. I always say if you do not have layered leadership on your goal board, get it on there, because that's a perfect example of today. And the beautiful part is we can work from anywhere. So as you can see, Lisa's working halfway in the car, halfway out of the car. So that's a beautiful part about this industry. I am Chastity Marie. For a lot of you new faces, we have so many new people, and I just want to say welcome. This is a leadership call that Lisa has hosted, I think, for a bazillion years now, only because I don't know how many. And it's just one of the most impactful, powerful calls that we have throughout the week. And, I think the reason that this call is so heavily attended and so powerful is because 200K is the top tier of our compensation plan. And whether you're looking for success, stability, or
No.
significance, you
There.
absolutely, hold it. I don't know if I have to do all the muting and stuff, but you absolutely, want to achieve that, not for a cardboard sign, not for a title, not for rank, but for options for you and your family. So I think the biggest impact for these calls is you have the opportunity to listen to 200Ks that are in the organization, in Lavelle, that have walked this journey. And it's a vulnerable, very vulnerable call and Zoom. And it gives you the opportunity to know that, hey, this is not just you rank into leadership, you have to grow into leadership. So without further ado, Natasha Roberson is one of my personal leaders, friends. We do life together, we do business together, and she challenges me to level up my game, because just the second I learned something, she's 14 steps ahead of me. So I'm like, can you stop teaching stuff right now? But she knows that we have to stay in the seat of learning to be able to grow in this industry. So without further ado, Natasha, I just want you to tell us a little bit about how you found Lavelle, what your background was, and just why this was intriguing to you.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I can't wait to see most of your faces in a few nights or few days. I don't know, whenever we're getting into Dallas. But so yeah, my name is Natasha Roberson. And, before Lavelle, I have always had a passion for entrepreneurship. Maybe it was my destiny, because I did not like people bossing me around. I didn't like people telling me you have to be clocked in by a certain time. Like, I literally was like, this isn't for me. No way. As an athletic trainer in that position, we don't have clock in or clock out. We have practice schedule, game schedule. So it was a little bit flexible. But with that career also came a position at a physical therapy clinic where I did have to clock in and clock out. And I did have to wear the khakis, and I did have to wear the nice shirts, and I did have to be very, very nice to all the patients. And I was like, I love what I'm doing, but I didn't love the fact that, I didn't wear the right shirt for the day or something like that. Right. And so I've always had that desire to do more and just do me. And athletic training was a passion of mine because I love working with athletes. And really, now looking back, I love working with people who want more out of what they already are doing and can do. So an athlete at a high level, they don't want to be mediocre. They don't want to sit on the bench. They want to be out playing. They want to be excelling. They want to get stronger. They want to get faster. They want to get better. And that is what my attraction to that career was the drive, the passion, the purpose, and just the downright grit that these athletes have. If they're injured, our job is to get them back even better than they were before the injury, right? And that was just a challenge for me, and it was exciting, and it was fun to watch these athletes come in and just soar through and go into the pros and all this, right? I just absolutely loved what I did. And so that was great. That was awesome. I was doing sports nutrition, athletic training. And then my now husband decides he's going to take a career shift in a sense to move somewhere else. And I'm like, we don't even have a ring on the finger, and you're asking me to leave Ohio to move to Lansing, Michigan. There's nothing here, you guys. Like, there's nothing in Ohio either. But I was not up leveling my location. I was like, your roads suck. They don't plow. There's no salt. I hate Michigan, right? And so I took that leap of faith and I said, you know what? I'm 23 years old at that time. What do I have to lose, right? I can go if it's not for me or we're not a thing in a few years, I can always come back. And so I took that step, and that was a pivotal step for where I went with my career. My career went from there's no athletic training positions open unless you want to work for this school that's literally going to turn a janitor closet into your athletic training room. And I'm like, no thanks. Like, no, and pay me half the amount I got paid in Ohio. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure this isn't going to work. And I was like, all right, what am I going to do? And I happened to have this interview with he was a personal trainer, athletic trainer at a gym that scared the living kajeez out of me. Cause like, I'm an athlete, but I don't go to the gym at that time, right? I'm like, I don't understand these machines. I just know how to fix people, and I know how to like make them better on the fields and the courts. And so I had this interview, and he's like, I want to design a position for you where you are the athletic trainer within our gym. And I'm like, okay. That was my first taste of what being a true entrepreneur was like and what I could do with this. I realized at that point, the more I worked, the more my results were shown by how the athletes and my clients excelled to where they wanted to go. The more my calendar filled up, the more income I made. And I was in control of that. And I was like, I really, really like this. That went on for a little bit, loved it, but I outgrew it, right? So if you ever in a position where you feel like you're at the ceiling, you're just at your ceiling, and you're like, man, I know there's more out there for me, but how do I get it? That was the point when I took that next scary leap of faith, and thank God, Jeremy, like, I don't know how he sleeps at night, because I come up with some crazy things that are very, very risky. And he's like, I'm not sure, but I trust you. Okay, go ahead. And this was a moment. And I said, hey, there's a studio that I drive by every day. It's halfway from home to the gym. And I would like to start my own business. I would like to take that facility and turn it into mine. And he's like, do you know what you're doing? And I'm like, no, I really don't, but I know I can provide. I know I can get the clients. I know I can grow this. And he's like, whatever, go do it. So I opened up my own studio, where that quickly within the first year went from me to 7 other professionals, right? Where we did personal training, nutrition, and massage. We outgrew that space, meaning we had more clients than we had people in hours. So what's the next step? You just find another facility and you start another one. And by year 2, I was running 3 studios as the owner and operator. I had 1 office manager. I had 17 employees. And on the outside, everyone was like, you're living the dream. You got the great house. You got all this stuff. And in the inside, I was like, I literally feel like I'm going to have a nervous breakdown because I needed so many places, right? And I wasn't able to be my best version of myself anywhere. I was literally like just showing up and running like a crazy woman, and everybody loved me. And I'm like, I feel like I'm absolutely losing my absolute ever living mind. But all right, we're successful. And so I took that and I was like, all right, we can do this. I got this. This was before kids, you guys. Then randomly, I wasn't going to have kids. Okay. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that, but you're like, nope. My kid, my child, my focus is my career. And then all of a sudden I had this random thought around a campfire. There might've been alcohol involved. And I said to my husband, I'm like, all right, it's time to have a kid. And he's like, can we talk about this tomorrow morning? Like, and if you've heard already how I run my life, I make a decision and I want to act on it immediately. Like, let's just go. Let's do it. And so the next day he's like, all right, we're going to have a kid. I never thought we were having kids, but I guess we're going to have a kid. And then Jacoby was born, obviously, 10, 11 months later or whatever. And that was when things started to shift inside of me going, okay, I love being an entrepreneur. I love the income. I love the freedom. I love the impact that we're making with all of these people. But I am not really the mom that I never imagined myself being. But now that I am a mom, the mom that I want to be. And at that point, I was like trying just to figure out what is the options here. What are my options? Add another studio, add another office manager. I don't know. And that's when, life was happening, but I was thinking all these things, you guys. I was thinking, what's my next move in order to lessen my time and responsibility? But if you add another office manager, you're really actually managing that person. So you're adding one more person to your plate versus taking them off. And I was like, that's not the answer. And then Jax came along, right? Second child, Jax came along. And I'm like, okay, listen, I can't go back to this. I'm exhausted. Like one kid you can get through, right? Like that first kid, you're like, man, this is tiring. This is a whole new level of being a human. Like, how do we do all that we do? But when you add the second, you're like, I'm breaking. Like I was to a point, I was exhausted, beyond exhaustion. I was getting anywhere from 2 to 4 hours of interrupted sleep a night. My clients still needed my attention, right? They're spending anywhere from $75 to $150 an hour with me. Like they deserve my awake, my focus, my energy, and I didn't have it. And so Chastity, back, I don't know, 2 years prior to this, or 3 years, I'm not even sure, we had connected on social media at a lunch that Lisa had in Tampa, Florida, right? So I don't know who Chastity is. I'm not sure. But we've stayed connected on social media. And at that time, we didn't have algorithm things, right? There wasn't an algorithm. It was just like random, right? It's like God winks, right? I was laying in bed August 15th, and it was Jacoby's birthday. We had just had 100 people at our lake house celebrating his birthday. I was downright exhausted and laying in bed, and I couldn't fall asleep. And I was scrolling Facebook, and that's when a story popped up that related to me. I'm sure I saw her post prior to that. I'm sure I saw some other people posting, but nothing like hit me, right? Nothing stopped me. And this post stopped me because it was a mom who was exhausted, who was literally waking up. She said this, she goes, I wake up, I step into my hamster wheel, and I do the same thing all day long. And then I step out and I go to bed. Nothing changes. My energy sucks. My life is just a revolving hamster wheel. And I wanted something different. And I'm sitting there going, man, that's how I felt for the last, year and a half to 2 years. Could this product do that? Being a personal trainer and nutritionist, there's tons of stuff out there. There's tons of great stuff. There's tons of crap. And there's a lot of people that put a lot of hype into what they have, right? And so I've tried so many things, having studios, people are walking through my door with new products. Hey, will you put this on your shelves? Will you put that on your shelves? But not a single one of them came with stories like that story. And that's what got my attention, was the story. The product I was skeptical as all get out on. Like 3 steps is going to do that. There's no way. But what do I have to lose? And what if it actually does help me? What if it does give me energy? What if it does give me patience? That was a big thing. I didn't have patience either. And I'm like, these little boys don't deserve to be yelled at because I'm running late, but I'm blaming them, right? Y'all can relate to that. And so I was like, man, if it could just give me 10% of what this mom says it's done for her, it's worth it. It's worth it. So I don't think twice. Like I said, when I see something, I make a decision. And I was skeptical, but I decided to say, what would 30 days do? And I started as a customer. I sent Chastity a message, asked for her link. She told me what to order. And within like 2 days, it was sitting at my doorstep. And that there told me, okay, fast shipping, right? Being an entrepreneur, you're looking at all these little things that maybe you don't look at until you've been in business. But it was fast shipping. And then when I opened it, I was like, it really is 3 steps. It's 3 things. There's no way this is going to do, when I'm taking 14 things now, 3 things are going to replace that plus enhance my results. But what if? So I stopped all the things and I just did this. And that's where the product spoke. They did their job, right? Chastity didn't have to sell me anything. She didn't have to like beg me to take it right. She didn't have to bug me to say, you know, hey. It was, I knew, here's how I took my steps. I wanted to have improvement in my life and I stuck to it. And within 4 days, I was like, there's no way this product's working this fast, but I think it is. And then that's where the journey started.
I love it. And I love the fact that, you know, you were an entrepreneur. And I think a lot of times we see people come into direct sales and they've never worked for themselves. So you understood, you know, you had to show up every day. You had to do the things. I mean, you understood it wasn't an easy, immediate, overnight success. You knew you were going to hit obstacles. But, you know, it's no secret. You obviously lead a multi-million-dollar team. You've hit the top rank of the company. A Lavelle millionaire will be acknowledged again this weekend. What would you have done different, Natasha, in the beginning? You know, we were those people begging people. And I was like, you need this, you want this. And they weren't ready for change. I mean, some people are legit not ready for change and you can't want it for them enough. So, you know, looking at the journey, hindsight, what would you may have done different, maybe for the new person on here or someone that's been thriving for a long time and they're like at that, where they just feel I've plateaued? Because as an entrepreneur, as a business builder, you know, people aren't just gonna, I mean, they don't just beat down my door. I have to go find them. I have to stimulate conversation. So what are some things you might have done different now looking back on your journey?
I think for sure the biggest thing is I would have had a system in place of who I was talking to 100%. Because I wasn't using social media, you guys. I did not post on social media. So I didn't have a post that let me know who I needed to follow up with. I didn't have that. And that was a choice I made. I just didn't use social media. And I would definitely have a better system in place where I at least just wrote their name down or something to say, I sent a text to this person. I sent a message to this person, or I talked to this person in my studio. Because I really was horrible at the follow-up. Horrible, you guys, because I didn't know who I needed to follow up with. I had no clue, right? You hear all the time, you send a message or they see something and they're like, yeah, I'd like information. Well, you send it and then they never ask anything back and you just forget. I mean, it still happens to me today. And I have simple things that I use now, but there's times where this is crazy. I just sent a sample to somebody. I've been doing this 6.5 years, you guys. I just sent a sample to her 2 weeks ago. Guess what? She's like, yeah, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago. You reached out to me about this, but I had no clue what you were talking about. And we're not great friends on social media. We're acquaintances. If I would have followed up with her then, she would have been thriving this whole time because she now placed her order because she loves it. You guys, like, if I would do anything different, I would make sure I'm taking care of the people that I'm talking to. That would be the biggest thing I would do different. And the second thing I would do different is I asked a lot of questions, right? Chastity can definitely tell you that. There was hours of phone calls asking tons of questions. I would have probably asked even more questions because the more I asked, the more I engaged in my business. The more I asked for things, the more I did, right? So it's kind of like these Zooms. We didn't have these. We had once a week trainings, okay? And then Paul would do his random random calls, and you couldn't plan for those. So half the time I'm with clients and I have no clue. But what I did was, hey, I seen Paul had a call. Chas, what was it about? I would call her and ask her, and then I would put it into action. So I would definitely encourage you guys, if you aren't asking questions and being engaged in these Zooms and being engaged with your upline, to be more engaged. And when they say something, go do it. Don't hesitate. Just take action, because that's where the growth happened, was the action I took at that time.
You know, a lot of people, when they come into this business, they hear, you know, oh, you need to brand yourself. You need to find out who you are. Well, you probably should have known who you are before you entered network marketing. I mean, especially if we're beyond like 18, you know, and a lot of times people struggle with that. They say, I don't have value. I don't know who I am. I don't know what to share. And, you know, you've been incredible at that. I will never forget when you were doing Thrive After, I don't know if we called them Thrive After Fives. We were running around the world, you know, gathering people in rooms, sharing our stories. And you had, you know, one of the boys on your hip and one attached to your knee. And you said, I will never make my why my excuse. And that's kind of been tokened. We've kind of heard that throughout Lavelle. You should have copyrighted that. But you know, the thing is that you haven't ever made your why your excuse. And so talk to us about, you know, you went from what you mentioned, people thought you were successful, had this, you know, studio and things were going great. So you went from a massive business owner to a sticker slinger. Like, I'm sure people were like, she's lost her mind. Like, how did you navigate? Because a lot of people stop with, they get out there, they're excited, they share their product, but then the second someone tells them, what are you doing? That's weird. They don't agree with them. They don't sign up with them. They stop, or they hear someone say, you got to brand yourself. You got to, you know, be who you are. They're like, I don't know who I am. So talk to somebody that, you know, is navigating those things in their journey right now.
Be so busy, take an action that you don't even hear those people, that you don't even see what they're saying, or you don't even question what they think. Be so busy that you are focused on the lives that you're changing, the stories that are coming in. If you have time to worry about what so-and-so is thinking of you, or what this person, you're not doing enough forward action to change lives, bottom line. And I was doing so much action, I couldn't tell you who was talking behind my back. I have no clue. I can guarantee you my entire hometown family and friends and people who called me their friend, we had nothing good to say, nothing. But the moment I drove into that town of like 1,100 people with an Escalade that cost more than all of their homes, I think I got their attention. But I have no clue who said what, because I was so busy going, this is changing lives. The stories I get to hear, I will not ever take a moment to listen to what's happening on the outside. If they want a good life, they come to the inside. I'm not going back. I'm not going back, and I'm going to stay busy where I am, focused. And the moment you start slowing down, here's the trigger. It should trigger you. As soon as you wonder what others are thinking, or you're changing the picture because of what people might say, or you're not going somewhere because you're not sure if you fit in, you're not busy enough. You're not taking the action to take your life to the next level. And so that needs to be a awareness for you. Like, and I've had it over time, right? This journey's been 6.5 years. It'll be 7 years in September. And I am not 100% all on all the time. And the moment something starts to seep in, I know I'm not focused enough on what I know the truth is. And I got to get my ass back in gear, because that will slow me down even more if I listen and allow time to come back in.
That's so good. And, one of the things, and I know you trust me with your vulnerability, but, the last, 6 months has been a journey for you in your personal life. And although life just was smacking you around, you still showed up. You still showed up. You still put on face. You put on, the trainings. You still did the things. You still were in Messenger. You still were having me on three-way welcome calls. I mean, like, why does $1 million leader need me on a welcome call? Because it's that simplicity and showing that newest person you can do this. Because I will admit, Natasha, I mean, you have a lot of attributes and a lot of qualities that I aspire to have, but there might be that intimidation factor for people that go, ooh, I can't juggle all these balls. So when you sit there and say, hey, I'm going to connect you with my friend, even though you've been qualified and so successful, it allows that other person to offer the validation of, you're in the right hands, you're in the right place, follow her lead. And if there's anything else I can do for you, let me know. It lets them know that there are other people in this business that are going to help them. And that is why the stories are so impactful. Like I said, you were a boy mom. I have never been a boy mom. And, even though I
have boys in there, like baby boys.
And, so the stories that are able to connect. And so you putting them on a phone call with somebody else is just a little bit different. They're like, oh, okay. There's differences in this industry. And so, finding their place. And another thing is, as they're finding who they are. When I started, Natasha, I looking at the boys, they've gotten so big over the last, I'm just like, they're getting so big. We evolved. So our branding, who we are, literally we've watched people with their kids grow up, and they went from, their first date to college, and we have to be ever evolving. So talk to us a little bit about that. And, we're afraid to show up on social media because, life is changing so fast, but that's what people want. They want to see real, and they want to see vulnerability. They want to be educated. They want to be entertained. And you do a really good job of that. So give us some tips on finding that space in a sea of billions of people in our social media.
I've had a lot of incredible mentors and coaches, guys. Like, at the end of the day, none of this happened because I did it myself. Not one single thing, nothing. I didn't give birth by myself, right? You had the nurse in there coaching it because you were going to die. Your spouse might have been there, might have not been there, right? All those things. But I think back to every single part of my life, I've always had a coach or a mentor or somebody that that was guiding me, whether I knew I was being guided or not. And so when it comes to my social media, when it comes to my presence, I would hear all the things, right? I would hear, go do a photo shoot every quarter so you have new things. And I would hear, you got to show up every day, 3 times a day. And I would hear, you got to be in stories for 10 hours a day, right? I would hear all these things, but what always came back was my core truth. And it's who I am. This is me. Like me, hate me, but you won't ignore, I will not let you ignore me, right? I will be seen, and I will be seen as who I am. And so when I talk to people along this journey, they're like, when I see you, you're who I know online. And that is the biggest compliment I could ever ask for in my entire life, is who I show up for, or who I show up as online is exactly who you're going to see at Thrive-Palooza. It's exactly who you're going to see at the grocery store. It's exactly who you're going to see on the sports field. I'm going to show up in my casual. I'm going to show up with my smile. I'm going to show up with confidence. And sometimes that's intimidating, but that's who I am. And that's who I shine and be online. And it makes your content easy. You guys, if you are struggling to have content, it's because you're showing up as someone else. And when you truly believe in who you are, and people will love who you are, and you will attract your people, content's easy.
I love that. That's like mic drop right there. Like, we're done. Okay, there you go. And I have learned, I've started saying, I'm not jealous of you, I'm jealous for you. Meaning, if I see a mama that does something so amazing and great, or a grandma, abuela, that does something amazing and great, like, I am happy. I am genuinely cheering them on. And I don't try to be someone that I'm not. One of the things that you said, and I believe that the second that you think you know it all is the second you will start to fail. Because you have to stay in a constant seat of learning. You are never going to arrive. I believe from the day we are born until the day we take our last breath, we are going to continue to learn. I always want to learn. And if that mentality and mindset is I'm always learning, then I'm learning because I'm listening. And if I'm always learning, I can be teaching. So a lot of times I hear people say, you and I have both invested in our learning and our education. Direct sales is just self-development university with a compensation plan that pays the best return.
It does.
And people will say, I don't have the money to hire these coaches. I don't have. So talk to us about mentors that we've never even met, mentors that you can get for free. And one thing that you are a master at is learning and then making it your own. So it's not that you had all of this millions of dollars of training and then you figured out how to speak and talk. Talk to us about learning and then reproducing that as your own.
Well, first I'll ask, how many of you guys have read a book or listened to a book and you couldn't tell anybody what it was about? We all have, right? It's because you didn't.
The question maybe should be, when's the last time you audio booked or read a book? That should be somebody's question. You guys, learning is part of that learning.
That's also, before I go into that, that's also how it's easy for me to come up with content, because I'm always in something new. My brain is always expanding and contracting, and it has an energy because I'm learning. And I'll tell you, going back to that vulnerable, since December, my life has been turned upside down, and most of you online wouldn't have even known, right? Because I just showed up as who I am. And even though it got turned upside down, I still show up positive. There's always something to learn from everything you're going through. And sometimes you do have to rest. I did rest. I watched a shit ton of Netflix, you guys. Like, I had to delete the whole account, so I couldn't even log in anymore. Because I was like, Netflix is easier than dealing with life. And I'm like, no, life needs to be dealt with because I got things to do. I got an impact to make, and I got to get back to this. But the shift from my Netflix down, I can't get myself out of this, was getting my head into a book again. That was what it took, you guys. It wasn't somebody telling me, you got this, you're good. It was, stop Netflix and the pity party and get your ass into a book so you can expand and contract your brain again to go forward in your future. Like,
Natasha,
that's what it took.
But I don't have enough time to read a book because my kids are busy and they have ball practice and I have to do this and I work full time and I'm pulling double shifts and I just don't have time to read a book.
Yep. And you don't want change. That's what I say to that. If I don't have time, it means it doesn't mean enough to me to make time. And I know that's harsh for a lot of you, but it's the truth. When I had my studios, I had my 3-month-old, my 2-year-old, and I started this business, I still found time to read. I still found time to learn. I still found time to listen to recordings. I still found time because I knew if I didn't make that time, I wouldn't get to where I wanted to go fast enough. It would be a slower journey and I would be holding myself back. So if you want something bad enough, you'll find time to do it. You will.
Yeah,
You'll find time.
it's always so crazy to me, the ones that I get a coaching call and they can tell me all the new Netflix documentary series or whatever, and they can't tell me the last thing they read. And that's not, I mean, we all get in those spirals, but I think that the thing in growth is learning to go, okay, I'm stuck. I have not been doing my reach outs. I have not been connecting with people on Messenger. I have not been showing up. I have not been reaching out to people and having those conversations. I have not introduced anybody to the product. And that's a truth that you can have with yourself. Yeah. You don't have to have a leader. You don't have to have a sideline. You don't have to have a mentor or coach to tell you you're not showing up. Yeah. And, you know, I love what you said, you know, it kind of batch working, take photos. I mean, if there's a day that you get dressed and you're feeling, you know, fly, take some photos, get different places and take those photos. Guys, I get people all the time that ask, are you in like Tennessee, Texas, where the heck are you? And I'm like, in my bed. And there, you know, it's because I content create all the time. And, you know, some days I feel great. Some days I don't feel like a Flex Friday, but I've got a good Flex Friday from a few weeks before. So it's a constant showing up. And, you know, as a leader, you know, now you lead, you know, a large team. And you talked about your personal life and how that can get discouraging and, you know, things can happen that are unexpected. I will tell you, financial freedom, time freedom, none of that exempts you from life. But talk about, you know, leading a team. You know, you have had that over the last several years, people come in gung-ho, ready, on fire, and then you've had people leave and, you know, it's defeating. We pour our heart and soul into people and they walk away from their goals and dreams. And so how do you navigate that, you know, even when someone turns off their auto ship or they're not ordering anymore, or they decide, oh, I'm at 12K and I'm good. I'm just going to ride this, you know, 12K stimmy out. And, you know, I mean, what do you do with that? Because that can be hard to navigate.
It all comes to my mindset. It comes to how I think about things. And I always put myself in, I think being a traditional business owner really set me up for this part. And here's the thing, our studio, there was 7 studios just like ours within a 2-mile radius. Okay. They chose to come here. They chose to stay there. They chose to join us. They chose to use our services. They chose to purchase our products within the team. And some of them drove right past. Some of them scrolled right past your stuff. And I didn't know who was or wasn't driving by, right? So that's the easy one. It's kind of like Walmart and Meijer. You either love Walmart or you love Meijer, and you don't go into the other one, right? And so nobody knows. But here's what I also look at it is when I'm leading a team, every single person has only been trained to have an employee mindset. From the time we're in school, we are told what to do. We're told when we can stand, when we can sit, when we can play, when we can laugh, when we can be quiet. Like we are told from the beginning of our life, we are never taught the freedom of thought and decision making. Like that comes from parenting, really. And that comes as they grow into it. So going into college, you're still an employee of that career, right? Those studies, those professors. And then you go into work and you're an employee for a boss who has a boss and who has a boss. So when they join your team, how much of their skills need to be sharpened to become an entrepreneur, right? How many of them actually have the skills and know the grit it's going to take to get to the goals they want? They don't. They are so unprepared, like all of us are when we first get started. But you as the leader get to prepare them. You get to look in and see the gaps and give them small exercises, assignments, right? To get them to grow into the confidence, grow into the mindset, grow into the skills that they need to go to the next level. But most times I see it every day. It's like, oh, we have these VIP bonuses. You just need to get 2 customers and 2 business partners, and you earned a $400 cash bonus, and you got $100 in product credit, and you get to thrive for free. They're like, okay, that sounds amazing. But they have no idea how to even send the message. They have no idea how to even post. They are scared to death what other people are going to think, because, you know, everybody cheers when you change jobs and you get a new job. Nobody cheers when you start a business because they have doubts. They are putting their limiting beliefs on you that moment, and you start doubting the excitement you just had 10 minutes ago. You start doubting, can you do this? Because they just put their limiting beliefs on you. And so when somebody starts and when you're leading, you got to remember people need to be equipped and re-equipped. When I get knocked down, right, I'm strong. But Chastity has a great way of knowing, like, something's going on and I need to touch in there. I need to get in there. I need to get in there. And she has a way of doing that. You have to lead each person the way they need led. And that means as a leader, you become a chameleon in a sense.
One of the things I have to interject this is because, you know, you're saying, you know, I have the ability to tap in, but you also do for me. I mean, there's times where I'm calling you with an issue and all the issue, and you're like, okay, 10 seconds is up. What's the solution? And I'm like, no, you didn't. And you're like, yes, I did. And for the last 6.5 years, you've done that. And I think that's been critical to your success, is because I can sit in it and I stew in it and I think about it. And I have faces all on my walls of people, and I'm thinking, why did they give up? And I take it on personally, and I keep putting rocks in my backpack, and you're like, okay, now what's the solution? And so I love that you do that. And we have to admit that we are weak and strong in different areas. And that's why we're surrounded by what the outside world looks like as a cult. And I'm like, call me what you want, but I am surrounded by people that are not going to let me stay down. Right. I don't have to air my dirty laundry on Facebook because I have a safe circle that's going to surround me. They're going to encamp around me and raise me up. So it's not that we live in the land of everything's great and rosy. It's just that we have a circle that is united and can say, okay, here I am vulnerable, I am weak, I am falling apart, but I can still show up because there is always something to be thankful and grateful for. Watching you over the last few years, you've checked a lot of things off of your dream board. You built your dream home. And I don't think I've ever heard you say, but in a text message the other day, I think you said Jeremy is hyperventilating. And I'm like, Jeremy hyperventilating? Because I haven't ever seen him get too excited. He's pretty level. And you're checking something massive off of your dream board. But one of the things that when people come into this business, they're like, my goal is to quit my job. My goal is to retire my husband. My goal is, well, you're still trying to brand yourself. You don't even know who you are. You want to retire your husband. You don't really know if you like him a lot because y'all go to your jobs. And then you want to quit working, and now you have nobody to talk to. You lead a multi-million-dollar team. You have a very successful organization. And what do you do on Wednesdays? And does your husband still work?
I'll be the first to tell you, both of us decided he will not retire because he can. He enjoys what he does. I enjoy him away because when he's home, because they shut down for a week, and I'm like, you get out of my space. Like, I got to work. And he's like, you're being too loud. I'm like, nobody's ever here. I can be as loud as I want, and I can be as excited as I want. He's like, but I can't hear my TV. I'm like, find a new job. Like, I don't know. Like, literally, right? With COVID, with the quarantine started, I was like, oh Lord, how long is he gonna be home? Because this ain't gonna be good. But he is so good as a parent and supporter, right? He supports me. He does the dishes. He helps with the kids, and he does all the things with the kids because, you know, boys and sports, that's great. But so we never were ever going to retire him. That was never the plan because he gets out in like 8 years anyways. So he's young retiree. But when we started this and I started to see what we could do, we went to the vision board, you guys, like we did. And we're like, okay, in the next 5 years, like, you know, you always hear the 5-year plan. And I said, okay, in the next 5 years, what do we want? And he's like, well, in the next 5 years, the kids will be starting school. We need to get into a new community. Like, we're forward thinkers always. And I said, okay, great. So let's find the community and then that. And so we already had it on our vision board that we were going to build a house, right? Or find a house very similar to it with these things included. And he never knew how we were going to do it. He was always scared to like, he was like, this is out of my, he works for GM, makes great money. But to do the things we had on these boards was going to take a heck of a lot more income than what he's ever been able to provide, right? As a man, they know like, I'm the man, I can provide. He was the first to like say, I'm cool with you making a heck of a lot more than me. And when people say stuff to him about like, how does that make you feel? Like he goes, she didn't control anything, but I sure like her money she makes because the options we have, right? And what was cool about that, he started to see that we could do this. And the belief in the business went from, I like the products, I'll never go a day without them. I love driving my Cadillac that you earned for me, to this is legit. And my wife does bigger business than anyone that I've ever met in my life. And then that's when the vision board started to quickly check off, is when that belief of his to mine started to really mesh. He became an even bigger supporter. He became an even bigger, like, take care of the kids when I needed a call and stuff like that. But as we went along, I went through 4 vision boards, and these things are not small things that we've done. And every single time, you guys, it makes us nervous, scared. Should we do it? Should we not? What will people think, right? Because it's another thing. And I always call upon my friends that always have the right words to say to me, right? So yesterday, I was talking to Jessica Green, and many of you probably know her, have heard of her name. But I was like talking to her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we just did this crazy thing. We just bought a boat. It's been on our family vision board for like 6 years. And not that we couldn't have done it. It's just it's an extra expense, right? It's like extra. And we live in Michigan, so we don't have sun very long. So it's really kind of weird that we did it. But I said, oh my gosh, we just had our anniversary. And she's like, what are you doing for your anniversary? I'm like, we just bought a boat. And she's like, oh my God, that's amazing. She gets it, right? She's an entrepreneur. And she's like, that's amazing. Like, you just bought a boat on your anniversary. And I'm like, yeah, it's a big vision board for the boys, for us, and for all of our friends, right? Like, when they come to the lake, it's a place of gathering and having fun and having tons of memories made. But she's like, I'm like, yeah, but I don't know how to post about it. So I want to kind of talk about this. Like, there comes a point where you're like, am I being too boastful? Like, I'm sharing too much success. And then you start to hide, right? You start to hide. And I have hid a lot of times through this journey. I haven't shared my truth. When we as a team went over that $1 million income, I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't even want pictures from stage on my social media, because like my family and friends, that this is out of their range of even believing they can do it, would see that, right? So I had these limiting beliefs still from my childhood, from growing up in the small town and all of that. Even though I was raised by entrepreneurs, you still have that limiting belief. You never share what you've earned. You keep it quiet. You work in silence and just, enjoy your success. And so it's always been hard for me. And so if any of you read my post yesterday, that post was inspired because Jessica said, people need to see what you've achieved. They need to see and hear and know that every day you show up has delivered this, because you never stopped, because even on the day you buried a family member, you still showed up for the people that matter in your future, that matter to you then, because the past is the past. Today is only today. Tomorrow and the future is forever. And so she's like, you need to share that, because that's not just your success. That's every single person on your journey's success. And I'm like, okay, I'll share. And when you start to write those posts, guys, my biggest tip and recommendation to you guys is to talk with somebody. Like, talk with somebody versus at them. I always want to bring people in of believing that they can too, because I said yes this, because if you say yes, if you have belief or you have the supporter, you can do magical things. And so as you're writing things like that, that might feel like you're boastful and bragging. You're not. You're showing what is possible for people, that they can too. That because you said yes to the unknown and you were scared to death and you had no time to build this business, but you loved what it was doing for you, you went and took that step forward. Because of that, and because if they did the same, they could potentially have what you've achieved in their own version, what they define as success, what they define as vision board items. And so don't hold back on those things. Just be more aware of talking with somebody and bringing them into that belief with you than talking at them. I believe there's a big difference there.
I think the biggest thing, so when I've had the opportunity to go to your lake house. Lake house is on my dream board still. And I've had the opportunity to ride in your pontoon, and I'm excited to ride in this new fanciness. But the biggest thing that I got when you said that is the opportunity to have people together, to spend time. And that's something that when I do post something about something I've been able to accomplish. I mean, there's been a lot, like you said, I'm sure y'all could have bought that boat year one, but I have been in your ear and in everybody's ear. Oh no, man, but to love them. If I can't pay cash, don't buy it, and all those things. And so
pay your taxes. Don't you dare not pay your taxes. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And it's such an accomplishment, but I always love to talk about, what am I going to use it for? When we built the loft, it was to gather people, it was to bring people in, to have breakthroughs. And there was so much more about it, not just here's my thing, here it is, here's my title, here's my rank, here's my $50,000 bonus. It was, I can help more, I can give more, I can do more for others. And you still work on Wednesdays. So, I mean, people are like, what? She still works. I know we're wrapping up and I promised I wouldn't go over time, but why do you still work? Like, I mean, you don't need to work.
No. There's a lot of reasons, but the biggest reason, guys, is I still have a passion and desire to help people with all of my abilities, with all of my skills. And one of my biggest skills that got me to a point of having freedom as far as options to buy a house, buy our cars and all that without having stress financially was my hands and my mind. And these clients have been with me for years. I have done life with these clients, right? When you work with a personal trainer or massage therapist, oh my gosh, the things I hear, I'm like their like best friend that they don't even tell some of the stuff to their best friend. So like, I know, but you get so connected. And then because of the skill set that I have, I've tried over the years to get them to go see somebody else, right? Hey, I would like for you to try this person out. At the end of the day, the results aren't what they desire, right? I do medical, I do enhancement of their life, right? It's not just relaxation. I don't do relaxation. I don't do any of that. It's always enhancement. And so they always message me back and like, it's just, I've tried it for 6 months. It's not the same. I really need to come back to you. And so that's one of the biggest reasons, because I do deliver results and I don't want to lose the skills that I have with that. And it's a passion of mine. Second reason.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Because on Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., I get a break. I'm not on social media, right? I don't have my phone. I don't have a computer. And I get to spend one-on-one quality time and always remember what it feels like and what it means to be present in the moment. It's a reminder to when the kids have sports, remember how it was being present on Wednesday, be present right now, because you will hear everything, you will see everything, and you will feel everything. And so it's a break, but also a great reminder of, slowing down and being present in the moment. Guys, I'm in a room that's pretty dark and it has calming music on, and I get to have incredible conversations with one individual. Think about that compared to all the conversations that are thrown at you from social media and all the posts like that. My brain is like, whoa. And then I go Wednesday and I'm like, oh, it's like my Zen. It's my meditation.
That is so important, because we do. Life is loud and life is noisy. And So with all that, give us just a couple of tips, because obviously you do a lot of things, have had a lot of success, finding balance. Give us, a couple of tips. What are a couple of things that you do every day without fail?
Yep, absolutely. So accountability, you guys. If you don't have accountability, you got to create accountability. So what do? I need to get my butt moving because I do not like mornings. Thrive has not done that for me. I mean, once Thrive kicks in, I love it. But getting out of bed is not the thing, right? What?
I still don't like to cook.
It still hasn't given me that either. So, but I know I need to get my day started. I need to get my brain fired up. I need to start my day off with motivation to do more. So accountability, I wake up every morning, no joke, 6:35. I start a Zoom at 6:45. I show up for those that show up for 6:45 for 15 minutes, 7 o'clock, and it starts my day. And then I start at 7 o'clock, I get the kids ready for school, get them on the bus, all those things. But without that, my day actually wouldn't have started until the boys got on the bus and off to school at 8:30. So accountability is huge. If you don't have accountability, create it. Make it happen. If you don't read and you know you need to read more, create a small group of accountable people. We're all going to read this book this month, and we're going to meet every third day and discuss the chapters that we assign to read. Guys, I read all the time, but I know people struggle with that. So I create accountability not only for myself, but for them. The third thing I would say is biggest tip is don't overthink anything. If you're an overthinker, it means you're not taking enough action. And if you're overthinking, it means you're doubting. If you're overthinking, your confidence is down. You're overthinking, your circle is not influencing you to level up to your greatest self. So when I start to overthink things, I have to evaluate who's in my circle, who am I allowing into this brain, into these ears? Who am I seeing and emulating their actions or lack of actions? And what changes do I need to make? And so always be evaluating and reevaluating who's in your ear, meaning podcasts, books, people. Who are you watching? Are they the people that are going to show you what it takes to go where you want to go? If they aren't, change your circle. And I change my circle all the time.
That's so good. Thank you, Natasha, for that. I can't wait to squeeze you in a few days. It's so exciting. Hey, if you are going to be at Thrivepalooza, drop in the comments below. Let us know what day you're coming in. Just a reminder that Amber does have a gathering. If you are sideline, up line, down line, I'm sure your leaders have things going on, but if you are in our organization, make sure you get the deets on that. Let us know when you're coming in. The other thing is, Lavelle just sent out their email. If you have tickets still that you have not assigned a name to, please go take care of that immediately, because that is to be completed by tomorrow at noon. So if anybody has any tickets that they have not assigned, if you have anybody that has come up that does not have a ticket, reach out to your leader. There may be some that have some tickets. I know there's some people that, things have happened and come up. So reach out to your leadership. And then again, like Lisa says, every single Tuesday, we get paid twice today, once from this incredible leadership training. Thank you, Natasha, for your tips. Thank you for always showing up for all of us and teaching and just everything you learn, you regurgitate to all of us. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed, and sometimes I'm like, okay, just one thing I can do from that Zoom. And then it's Tuesday payday. And I just want to really encourage you to stay in an attitude of gratitude. A lot of times people say, I'm not doing what I need to with Lavelle. I'm not making the money I used to. Take a look at what you've been able to accomplish, whether you've been in a day, a year, 6 years. What has this opportunity given you? And when you shift that mindset to gratitude, it's a whole new game changer. So, and then ask yourself the question, how many new people have I introduced to Thrive this week? You answer that question. How many stories have I shared with someone this week? You answer that question. Am I taking my 3 steps every single day? You answer that question. And when you have those true, honest conversations with yourself, you will see areas where you can improve. Guilt is not something that I encourage. I encourage grace and new opportunities every single day to say, what can I do different today that maybe I didn't do yesterday? So without keeping you guys from logging into those cloud offices, thank you guys for everything that y'all do. Thank you for showing up. Thank you, leaders, for being who you are. I don't think Lisa's on, but shout out to her for continuing to have this Zoom. It's just one of the most amazing. I hope you took the time and screenshot or did a little story for your stories and your reels, because social media is where it's at. So make sure, because we had about 220 people on. So make sure you grab that for your stories and your reels, and talk about training. People want to be a part of a community and part of greatness. So y'all have a great, amazing day, and we'll see you in just a few days.